Have you always wanted a portable campfire grill or tripod for hanging a Dutch oven over a campfire? Well, Matt Marzolf of Desert Metalcraft has provided the answer. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Miller, First Vice President of Arizona Artists Blacksmiths Association, and our September demo features a campfire cooking tripod. It's great for the backyard and is easily portable to take on camping trips. Just so you know ahead of time, the audio is low in the beginning, but gets better after punching holes in the trammel hook. At our in-person demos, members normally pay $20, while non-members pay $25. Please consider making a donation to help keep this video service going until we're able to return to our in-person demos. Donations may be made at azblacksmiths.org. Click on Plans and Videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for your support, and happy hammering.
Hey guys, my name is Matthew Marzolf. I've been doing blacksmithing now for about 6 to 7 years, kind of as a hobby, and I just recently came down here to Desert Metalcraft. I took a couple classes here, and now I'm doing the blacksmithing for beginners classes here. And so today, for the Arizona Blacksmiths Association, I'm doing a demo for a campfire tripod. We'll start out with this kind of rough measurements of the pieces that we have. First main group of pieces, 3 pieces of 3/8 by 5 feet square bar. These are going to be the actual legs of our tripod. And then I have another 3 pieces of 3/8 by 22 in round bar. These are going to be hooks that are going to be suspending the grill from the actual top of the tripod. I have 1 piece of 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch by 12 inches flat bar. This is going to be part of the adjustable trammel hook, and then the piece of 3/8 by 12 inch round, that's going to actually be the hook that is adjusted. And then we have 2 round pieces of 1/4 inch by 12 inch. These are going to be the rings that everything is suspended from. All of these pieces are interchangeable, and we'll have everything put together at the end and show how different parts of this can be used for different things, for hanging like a cooking pot or the grill that we're going to make. We have a grill that we already put together, and the cuts that we're using for that are a big square bar. This one is 3/8 by 49 inches, and we aimed for about 15 to 15.5 inches in diameter. That way it's got a nice surface area for over the campfire or coals or whatever you're using. And then I just measured out like about 17 by 17 square of expanded steel, and then once you have it on there, you just plasma cut all the way around. And then these are the basic parts of the campfire tripod, and anything else you want to add to it is completely up to you. It's all the artistic stuff is completely up to you. You can add more hooks to it, more S hooks, like for length at any part of the tripod. But these are the basic pieces that we're going to be using today and demonstrating. So. Okay. So the first part of this we're going to be making is the first thing that I want to do is chamfer the ends of these so that there's not any sharp ends on here. Just tapping the corners of this a bit. Round off any sharp edges. lucky enough to have this little fork on here. I'm just going to bend this just a little bit so that I have the material that I want. I'm going to use a different fork. That one's a little too wide instead. The end of this is just a little too wide for what I want to do. So I'll put this in here. Just kick it out just a little bit. Back out like that, so that now the weight will be going this way instead of all this direction. Same thing on this one. Just walk it back. Straighten everything out once I've got it. Spin it around and do on this end, we're going to make a taper that'll probably end up being about 2 inches long, and then we'll put a twist in it just for decoration. all of my instruments kind of pre-measured out to whatever stock it is that I'm working on. That way once I get here and I am within like one turn of clamping my piece in there, I can immediately start twisting and turning. I don't want to come over here and then start put the steel in there and then start fiddling with stuff. I want to try to be as close as possible and have everything as hot as I can for when I do the twist. The twist that I'm putting in there is going to be about over 5 inches. I'm going to start the top of the twist where we started the taper. So I'm going to use the taper as like my beginning point, and then I'm just going to use the vise, which is about 5-ish inches, and then that's how I'm going to that's about how far the twist is going to be in all of the pieces. And I use this just so that when I come over here real quick, I can line it up, place my bar in, and then immediately start twisting. We'll do that first. Come over, measure here. I'm not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this way. Forward to the back. Here. Make sure everything is still in line. Got enough heat to bend everything back at this point. You're not going to be moving very much material, but you'll be able to straighten bends while everything is still dull. And then at this point, you can take a brush and get into a little groove of the twist, get all the scale out there, make sure everything is nice and clean, and that's about what we're looking for. Same thing on the other two pieces. Okay, we're going to do the second twist now. I'll start here, move it down there, where I have it set on twice. And do full twist. Everything I get up again one more time and correct any other angles up on the anvil. That's number 3. Measure about there. All 3 back up, correct those on the anvil. I've already put my tapers in, I put the twists in, kind of how I want them. I'm just heating everything up now to straighten everything out, straighten all the bends that I put in there from when I was twisting it. really want to pay attention anytime you do twists. You don't want to be laying that on the anvil and hitting it, because then you put a flat spot in your twist and you can't get that back out. Any bending, any correcting that you're doing, make sure you're not ruining any of the twisting. Back and fix those later, and the rest of the piece if we have to. So we have our two twists in here. About the same length, give or take a twist with the taper on the end. Those are the ends that are going to go in the ground. I'm just going to straighten out some of aside for later if you need any further adjusting. Check your work along your way, make sure that after you've done all that, it's still about the same height. Okay, for the next part, we're going to be making the trammel hook, the adjustable trammel hook that we have for the Campfire tripod. We're going to start out with this piece of flat bar. What we're going to be doing first is we're going to be making the hook on this end. And then we'll be punching. Now the amount of holes that you have in your piece is completely up to you. I just put about 3. Those are the versions that I've seen. And then on the very bottom will be a hole that you're going to punch, and then you're going to kick up 90 degrees so that when you have the barring, the actual adjustable hook in here, that's what's going to hold everything in place so that you can safely put a pot on here and it's not going to shake or like swing all over the place. So the first part, we're going to be doing this hook part. Okay. Next part, we're going to be setting aside, starting to hit material down for this hook. Just going to be hitting on the corner of our bar here. mostly on this end, the material on about the last inch, inch and a half, and that's what's going to become the hook for the trammel hook. end of this. I'm going to work on maybe the last half inch of this in order to make a little scroll on the end, and then finish the hook this way so that the scroll will turn out this direction. And then try to kick this shoulder right here into the middle of the piece so that when it's hanging, it'll be hanging from the middle. Okay, just going to draw out the very last half inch of this. Really tight. And now this is what I'm going to take and fold the scroll backwards, because when I pull the hook this direction, then the curl will be sticking up outside. Now I'm just going to take the end of this, roll this over the edge of the anvil, keep it as tight as I can. Now hit it back on itself. Raise my left hand up. And that's about how I want that, how tight I want that scroll to be. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to bend the hook in this direction, but I don't want to close off the scroll that I made, so I'm going to quench just the very tip of that so that part doesn't move. Okay, I've quenched the very tip of that scroll so that it doesn't move. When I hit on it like this, now we've got that much over the horn. Just hit it back. Straighten everything out. And there we go. That's the end of the adjustable hook that we want. So now the apex of this bend should be hanging, should make it be able to hang right inside of that ring, straight like that. The hook should be able to hang in there like just like that. Zoomed out view of that. So again, just for a better view, now that the hook is in there, once you have your ring in there, like say this is the top of the Campfire tripod, it should be hanging just like that, so that it hangs straight. How you do the hook, how you do this hook is up to you, but just make sure that the center of it lines up with the center of this hook, otherwise it'll be hanging, you know, like this or like this. And you want your pots or grill to be hanging on there as straight as possible. The next part I'm going to do now, we're going to be putting 4 punches in this. We're going to do 3 in here. I'll show you with the other one. We're going to be doing 3 holes in here for the actual adjusting. And then on the very end of this, the bar right here, we're going to put 1 other punch. And then that's what's going to be kicked up 90 degrees. And that's where the actual adjustable hook will go up inside of the hook and be able to go up and down in these adjustable holes. Ready?
Bruce Greenwood, I'll be the assistant this evening.
This is going to be my extra set of hands so that I can have the punch and the hammer. He's just going to hold the piece for me over our striking blade. Ready? Ready to go.
Sorry. Tired.
or this actual one is a little bit bigger, and this one's round. This one's still got the hexagon on it.
Can you get to touch that up? The other one? You're good with that?
I mean, I'm gonna wreck it right now anyway. Afterwards, I'll touch it up. punches in, but you can see it's really mangled up the bar quite a bit. So on the next heat now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to straighten it up. And then on this last part is where I'm going to, this last hole, this is where I'm going to kick up a little piece off the hook so that the actual adjustable hook part can move up and down in there. This next part is just correcting all the little twists I have in there. We can use this other hook as our little test hook to see if our holes in there are good enough. Fit all of our stock perfectly. I'm going to avoid hitting too much on the back side of this because if I hit again on the back side, it's just going to close the hole back up, and then I'll need to drift and then open and then drift and open. So I'm just going to leave it like this. Keep everything. One more heat. I'm going to just straighten it out one more time. Next heat is I'm going to heat it up, and just like the very tip of the scroll on here, I'm going to quench just past the hole right here, so that when I put this bend in it, I'm not going to squish the hole that I just drifted. I don't want to squish it like elongate it in any other direction by bending it up. And then all I'm going to do is just take it over the end of the anvil like so, hit it that way once it's quenched. It's going to be quenching up to the halfway point on here. Back up a little way, a little bit. Now when I hit this, I'm not going to mess up the hole that I just worked on. Okay. So over here we have the basic premise of the tripod set up. I mean, if this is all you want, then this is the finished product right here. This is the other trammel that I made. This is the example piece. Sliding around a little bit on the concrete, but that will be in the dirt and that won't move at all. So what we're going to do next, we have already the actual adjustable hook part. So now what we're going to do is make the hook that goes into this piece. And that's just going to be simple J-hook. The hook on the bottom can be however you want, but we're going to want the actual part that goes into the adjustable trammel to be kicked off this direction opposite the hook. That way you can adjust it, up and down this way onto the trammel. Going to be done the same way I've done the little curly Q on the hook part and the tapers on the end of the tapers on the end of the actual tripod legs, but I'm going to make another hook the exact same way I made for the actual adjustable piece. Just going to be doing a basic taper and round it off again and then make it into the hook. Like I said, this part's kind of like a style choice. It's totally up to you how the hook on here is shaped, how it looks. How many there are is totally up to you. taper now, but they're still, the sides are still square. So what I'm going to do is hammer directly on those sides, make it kind of an octagon, more or less. That way I can now twist this and re-round my piece. Now I've got the end of this more or less back to a rounded taper, but it's even on all sides now. Okay, now I'm going to take the end of this taper and do the same way I did the other hook, roll over the tip of this so that I have that, and now I'm going to hit back on it and lift my hand up. Make a decent scroll, decent tight scroll like that. And now this will just be the end of this. And now I'm going to make the hook part. Punch the tip of my little scroll there so that it doesn't deform. Go over the horn. That is the end of the hook that we are wanting. So like I said, the width of the hook is up to you. I'm going to do the same thing that is on this hook. I'm going to kick this piece starting right here. I'm going to make a little shoulder in it so that when it hangs, as you can see, when it hangs, it'll hang like a little bit off to the side. The other side, and we're just going to make a simple bend on this end so that it can fit in and out of the holes of the trammel hook. All I'm going to do, you'll be able to view that easier. This is where I'm going to be pressing it. Hammering it so that I can make sure I get a nice tight bend on here. And that's about where I want to end up with it. Just like that. So now we're going to flip it around. Now we're just going to put the bend in it, but the bend, this is the direction the hook goes. We're going to make the bend go this direction. Up real quick. So while this is hanging, it's completely up to you which direction your hook is facing. I like to have it this way, so it's kind of essentially like one big long S hook. So I need to make sure that when I put my bend in, that I have the hook in this orientation, and I bend the hook this direction. Okay, just going to hang it about that far off the edge of the anvil, and that's where I'm making my bend. Remember, top and bottom, get a nice sharp shoulder on there, and there's the piece. Make sure on here. I kicked the angle of this part of the hook up a little bit further so that once it actually goes inside of the hook and goes through the hole, it can actually sit in there and you won't push it out of there. So it'll lock in there, and you know, if you push forward on it, your pot won't slip off of there as easily. And so that's that all fit together. We'll let it cool down, and we'll brush it, and then we'll assemble all of that. The next part we're going to do is the hooks that are going to actually hold on to the grill that will be hanging from this. And you don't have to hang the grill from this. This you can put a cast iron pot directly on here. You can hang anything you want to cook over the fire. This is what's hung from this hook. Okay, for this next part, this is going to be using 3 pieces of 3/8 by about 22 inches. This is the 22 inches is that measurement is completely up to you. This is just how far the grill is actually going to be hanging from the hook. So if you want it to be really long, or if you're making a bigger grill, you know, you're going to need to change up your measurements for that. This is just having a good, 20 inches between where we're going to be making our loop and the hook part that is going to actually be grabbing onto the grill. So we're going to make something a little bit similar to this hook. This isn't the one I'm making, but similar to this. We're just going to make a lot shorter version of this particular hook right here. We're going to make a small eyelet loop like that. And we'll attach them the same way the top of the tripod is attached. The only difference between this and what we're making here is the actual hook is going to be a lot smaller. These are the 3 pieces that I'm going to be using to make the grill hook. While these pieces are heating up, I was just test fitting the trammel hook. And once I have these 3 hooks done, I just need to make 2 small rings, and then it's completely done. And I'll show you it fully assembled and all the different parts that you can put on or take off that are completely up to you. And we have it set up outside so I can actually stick it in the dirt. For these hooks, very simple. Same hooks that I've been doing for all the rest of the pieces, just about 1 inch back on the piece, starting a taper. Up at about that diameter, then I'm going to round it off and make the same little scroll that I have in, and then make a hook going in the other direction, because what we're going to have these particular hooks do is that when they are grabbing onto the side of the grill, instead of sitting on them like this, it's going to actually like grab on the little lip of the grill. So this is the grill we made. It's got a little, we just welded the expanded steel onto the top part of it. So what I want to have the end of my hook be able to do is grab onto the the inside of the lip right here. This is just a different hook for show, but what I'm gonna have this one do is just basically do that right here. I'll show again in a little bit once I've made this one exactly what I mean by that, but this is the area of the grill that we're planning on setting the hooks up for.
So what are we going to do now?
Okay, so for this next part, we're going to do one minor little adjustment to the hooks that we have. I just tested them on the grill, and the way they hang from the ring, two of them actually kind of need to be twisted a little bit because they're going to be in all different angles, but they're only going to be hanging like on one axis on the ring. So I'll show you, I'm going to show real quick just a minor little twist so that these three hooks can sit on the ring just a little bit better, and it'll hold your grill straight up instead of like at an angle. So all we need to do for this part is just take the rings, do a little bit by hand. Nope. thought I was that strong.
Turns out, steel cools off when you stick it in the vise.
Yeah. Do it with this one. And just do a minor little twist of the piece. Probably about right there. So that way it sits on the ring a little bit better. Just put a little bend in it that I'm going to straighten out. From this direction, when it's hanging on there, it'll let the hook at the bottom is now at a little bit of a different angle so that it can hold on to that grill a little bit better.
But remember, the other one has to go in the opposite direction.
So that one twisted up, that one twisted to the right.
No, that one twisted to the left.
So now this one.
Other way. Other way. Other way. There you go.
Okay. My bad.
It's confusing. It's like making tongs. You want to make tongs opposite.
And then you want
this
to
really does have to be opposite.
Mirroring them doesn't make them the same. So they're lined up on the ring, they twist, or they're bent in a little bit different direction, so that when they're on there, it'll line up a lot better.
Cool.
And we'll assemble it right now to show that. The exact middle of it. That is the grill hooks And I made these ones probably a lot bigger than they needed to. These go about an inch and a half inside, but you can use this also to hold onto like a cast iron griddle, cast iron pot, depending on how it's how the bottom of whatever pot you're using is. So these are kind of universal, but you know, they're locked in there. It's not really going to shake or get knocked over too difficult. So yeah, so now the next step, I'm going to be making one more of these little rings that we use for these J-hooks. We're going to be making the ring for the top of the actual tripod, and then we're just going to assemble it. So yeah, so basically all we're going to be doing is this is basically just a huge version of a bending fork. These are just two pipes that we have. There's hundreds of different ways to make rings and circles and different ways to do it. Using a little jig like this or a setup like this makes sure that when you're doing multiple pieces, they all end up the same. This is just one of the ways we have right here. This is one of the test ones that we did. And we'll leave the ending of it open like this so that we can slot everything on there and then close it up just like a key ring. So the piece is going to go in here, and it's just going to be braced up against this smaller one, and I'm going to wrap it around as far as I can go this way, and then I'll switch over to the anvil and just finish it right around the horn, just closing up this little part right here, and then we're done. And close up the end of that. But we use this piece just to get as much of a perfect circle as we can. Okay, good enough heat. Just going to take over the horn of the anvil. Just do a slight bend on one side, slight bend on the other side, get them to meet up a little bit, and tap them together, make sure they're in line, tap them down, and then you hang one side off the edge of the anvil and hit it like so that we can open it up, and now we can actually slide the ends of the tripod through, and then we'll bring it back over the anvil and close it back up. Okay, so the way I'm going to be putting the legs of this Campfire together, I'm going to have two of these loops that are going in this direction, and I'm going to have one loop going in the opposite direction. I'm going to put the one loop that goes in the opposite direction is going to be the one that's in the middle, quote unquote. I mean, once they're on the ring, you can obviously roll it around, but you want to have at least one on there going in the opposite direction, so that when it goes out, two legs go one way and one leg goes the other way. I mean, obviously, if you flip it around, you can take the ring off and set it up however you want. That's just how I'm going to be doing this one. So we have one ring going one way, this middle one going the other direction, this ring going that way. Take our newly formed ring that we just got, slide it through all three of them, and then take it over at the end of the anvil, and close it shut as much as you can. Get a better grip. That's the ring that's going to hang down. You actually hang the trammel hook from. And then of hooks for the Campfire. We're going to close the ring on this one.
It's like you use spring steel. Yeah. Go.
Okay, so I took my ring over to the vise just so that I could clamp it in here. And so I could do a little bit of twisting that I couldn't do with the hammer. Close it up, and there we go. And now we have the hooks for the griddle all secured. And now we're going to go set it up outside and show how everything is assembled. And then we have a finished project. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, there will be links and stuff in the description or on AZ Blacksmiths where the actual video is going to be. Yeah, we're going to go put everything together and see how everything works. Thank you very much.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is it all assembled. We've got the actual 3 legs of the tripod. This is really the only part of this that is like absolutely necessary. We put the griddle and the trammel hook on here as kind of an extra part of the demo, an extra part of the project. But we have in total the 3 pieces of the tripod, the ring, the adjustable trammel hook, another ring that is holding the 3 hooks for the grill that we made. And we have plenty of room under here for a nice big bed of coals. And then if you want it to be a little bit lower, there's how that's adjusted. If you want it to be a little bit higher, if your food's getting too hot, you can adjust it up that way. And then anything past where the trammel hook is going, you can just add, you know, another S hook or another ring in that little gap if you want it to be really close, or if you're not using a grill or whatever, you can have this hanging down and then have like a Dutch oven pot hanging. So you have like the pot will be hanging right about there. But yeah, that is the project all done. Those are all the pieces all together. And thank you very much for watching.